There has always been mysterious disappearances. However, some are the most shocking due to the lack of evidence and clues. Today, we count down the top 4 mysterious disappearances. Number 4. Theresa Butler. On the morning of January 25th, 2006, the husband of 35-year-old Theresa Butler returned to his home in Risco, Missouri, after working the night shift, and discovered that his wife was missing and their 2 young sons were home alone. Her Jeep was still at the house and there were no signs of struggle or forced entry, but her kids could not shed any light on what happened to her. Theresa's purse and cellular phone were missing, as were a lot of other valuable items from the house, such as a PlayStation, video camera, and a car stereo. However, her wedding rings and jacket were left behind. Things got even more bizarre when authorities discovered that 2 calls had been made from Theresa's cell phone shortly after she disappeared to numbers at 2 different towns in Missouri. The person at the first number never answered the phone, while the second did answer and claimed they heard nothing on the line. Neither of these people had ever heard of Theresa Butler and don't have any information about her disappearance. 7 years later, there are still no answers in this baffling case, and no trace of Theresa has ever been found. Number 3. Diane Agate. On April the 10th, 1988, 40-year-old Diane left her residence in Odessa, Florida, and mysteriously disappeared. 3 days later, Diane's mother received a message on her answering machine from a woman who sounded just like her daughter. She was saying, "Help, help, let me out," and "Hey, gimme that," as the sounds of someone trying to grab the phone away could be heard in the background. The caller ID read Starlight, but there was no answer when Diane's mother called the number back. Things got really morbid on April the 15th when the severed tip of Diane's right middle finger was found in the area where she was last seen. 2 weeks later, a bag containing her neatly folded clothing was discovered in a convenience store's freezer. 2.5 years after Diane went missing, a local paper published a story about her disappearance. The very next day, Diane's brother's girlfriend happened to discover a plastic bag in another convenience store. It had the name Diane written on it and contained items which may have belonged to her. In spite of these bizarre clues, no other traces of Diane Agate has ever been found. Number 2. Annette Sagers. On November the 21st, 1987, Corinna Lynn Sagers Malinowski, a 26-year-old woman from Mount Holly, South Carolina, mysteriously disappeared when she did not show up for work and her car was found parked in front of the Mount Holly plantation. But that's not even the most bizarre aspect of the story. On October the 4th, 1988, Corinna's 8-year-old daughter, Annette Sagers, was on her way to school and went to the bus stop in front of the Mount Holly plantation, and she mysteriously vanished as well. To make things even stranger, a note was found on the bus stop which read, "Dad, Mama, come back. Give the boys a hug." While it looked like it may have been written under duress, handwriting experts determined that Annette likely wrote the note. It has been speculated that Annette's mother may have returned to reclaim her daughter so they could disappear together, but she also left 2 sons behind, and no one in their family has heard from either of them in 25 years. In 2000, an anonymous caller claimed that Annette's body was buried in Sumter County, but that lead never panned out. Overall, this is a truly baffling mystery with no visible solution. Number 1. Cynthia Anderson. On the morning of August 4th, 1981, a 20-year-old woman named Cynthia Anderson went to her job as a legal secretary at a law firm in Toledo, Ohio. When her employers arrived at work later on, Cynthia had vanished. Her purse and car keys were missing, but her vehicle was still parked outside. Eerily, a romance novel she had been reading was at her desk, and it was open to the one scene in the story where the heroine is abducted at knife point. This clue could be read as a sign that she staged her own disappearance, but there has been no trace of her in over 30 years. There have been many other theories about what happened to Cynthia. A month after her disappearance, police received an anonymous phone call that Cynthia was being held against her will in the basement of a white house, but this lead never went anywhere. One of the attorneys of Cynthia's firm was involved in drug dealing and later went to prison, drumming up speculation that she may have overheard incriminating information which led to her murder. However, there is no concrete evidence to support any of these theories. To this date, even Cynthia's remains have not been found. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to tune in tomorrow for a new episode.